Hello everyone, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm. Welcome to my March wrap-up, part 1. March! I can't believe we're doing wrap-ups already. It's going too fast. Yeah, today, March is, I think, a bit of a difficult month for me because it's today, as I'm filming this, it's Mother's Day. Yeah, let's not go into that. Sunday, it's another riveting and exciting day at home alone for me, which is pretty much the norm now. I don't have family here. I don't have a boyfriend. I did have a boyfriend. Good riddance to everyone. Yeah, I'm not feeling my best today, but let's just try and do a wrap up. Keep my mind busy. So the first book that I finished in March was Goodnight, Beautiful by Aimee Molloy. So having absolutely loved Aimee Molloy's book, The Perfect Mother, I think it was like a couple of years ago now, I knew that I had to pick this book up as soon as it came out. So it's a book about this married couple called Sam and Annie. And Sam is this clinical psychologist with a predominantly female clientele. He's just gotten married, and through a vent in his ceiling, all of his confidential discussions with patients can be overheard. So initially I'd thought that this book was going to be the wife listening in and getting really pissed off because there's this new patient that comes in this with a Mini Cooper. She's French, and shortly after that, hubby disappears after this French girl is flirting with him a little bit. So in my head, I had this story pinned a certain way, and it was most certainly anything other than what I thought, which is just fantastic, really. The thing that instantly hooked me with this book was that the opening chapter is literally this girl in a cafe or something, literally critiquing the thriller genre and complaining about how women are always conceived in thriller books these days, how we're made out to be. And I just thought that was such an epic opener. It promised something unique, something different, something powerful. And I feel like it didn't stick to its promise. So I have heard that this book has, a lot of people seem to be comparing it to Misery by Stephen King, which is a book that I just bought. I haven't read it yet, so I can't really judge it on that yet. However, from the basic premise, yeah, it does sound slightly similar. And if my memory serves me correctly, Molly actually does reference Misery the book in her book. So there we go. I did find that the alternating points of views, which I normally enjoy in books, it got a bit confusing for me with this one. I did find it quite far-fetched, quite unbelievable, and to be honest, more than a couple of times, I found myself wanting to DNF it, and I don't often DNF at all. I found it very anticlimactic. It just it dragged on when it didn't need to. After such an epic opening chapter, I just found that it just went downhill. I feel like this review is going to be so basic because, to be honest, I didn't care. I didn't connect with the characters. There was nothing about this book that really appealed to me. Sometimes when you read a book, you realise it's just not the book for you. And that is how I feel about Goodnight, Beautiful by Aimee Molloy, which is sad, but it's the way it goes. If I liked every book I read, it would be a very boring world for me. Right, then moving on to a book that I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Bloody loved it. It got recommended from Jacqueline. She's got an incredible booktube channel, which I'm obsessed with. I'll leave it in the description box down below. Go give her a follow because she's so brilliant. It's called The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry. And if I'm being honest, I found that the basic premise of this book sounded very much like Baby Teeth, which is a book I really didn't like. So I was quite hesitant with The Perfect Child. I mean, give me a book about a creepy child any day. I think that's awesome for a thriller horror kind of a genre. So The Perfect Child, we've got Christopher and Hannah. They are a married couple. I believe they're in their 40s already. They've been trying desperately hard to have a baby, and it's just not happening for them. They're both very hardworking people in the medical field. And you know what they say about be careful what you wish for, it might come true. You know, one day they're at work. This little abandoned, tortured, malnourished child gets brought in, and the husband, Christopher, has to basically do surgery on, he's an orthopedic surgeon, he's got to do surgery on her bones to fix her because she's so starved that she's basically started to eat herself. So Christopher starts bonding with this little girl who he figures out is 6 years old, I think, and he's just baffled by the dismal options that this kid gets given for foster families. So he kind of just jumps the gun and says, right, well, we're gonna foster and potentially adopt this kid. And the wife at first is like, what the hell have you just done? But then, you know, they get really excited about it. They're finally a family. You know, they've suffered miscarriage after miscarriage, just haven't had any luck with babies. So yeah, they start getting really, really happy and excited. Little girl comes to live with them. I think her name's Janie. And then very quickly we realise that she is isolating the parents, playing them against each other, favouring Christopher, and just really being, for a 6-year-old, an absolute see you next Tuesday to the mum. And Christopher is just living this world through rose-tinted glasses. He doesn't really see what this kid is doing. This book is just unputdownable, enthralling, exciting, fascinating. I was biting my nails the entire way through it. It's beyond dark. I mean, the trigger warnings are endless, from infertility, child abuse. But one I feel like I really do need to mention that isn't as obvious as from what you can get from the premise is animal abuse. Animal harm, cruelty. It is hard to stomach. It's a disturbing book, spine-chilling and terrifying because it literally could really happen. It's so believable. I think, you know, if I was to ever go down the adoption or fostering route, which now that I'm turning 30, it's looking more and more likely if I can ever get my own shit together to look after my bloody self before I can even think about stuff like that, then, I mean, I think it would be every foster adoptive parent's worst nightmare. This book, what happens in it. Just, it sends shivers down my freaking spine. The author is a former clinical psychologist, so I feel like she did a really excellent job at tackling these topics, exploring the human psyche. I think, even though I gave it 5 stars, if I had to say something negative about it, it would be that, yeah, it was predictable. We pretty much know where the book's gonna go. I know quite a lot of people were a bit disappointed by this book's ending, but personally I feel completely the opposite way. I thought it was brilliantly done. I thought that it was a really clever ending and potentially could lead to a follow-up book. Okay, then I read Nightshift by Kiare Ladner, and this is a book that Emma from Drinking by My Shelf has had on her radar for a while. She's been speaking about it, but she hadn't read it yet. But I really do normally really love her recommendations. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna dive into this one. And so I downloaded it on Audible. And I was very surprised because I don't remember the basic premise really giving away the South African element that this book had, which was, you know, I was like, oh, okay. It's about this girl called Maggie, who is a South African-born girl, and she now lives a relatively mundane life in London. She's got a stable boyfriend, she's got a steady job. Then she meets this girl called Sabine at work, and Sabine is everything that she really wants to be. The pair start to bond in their nocturnal urban existence. And it is a captivating book about female friendships and sexuality and psychology, really. Even though this book wasn't my favourite, I found the writing very poetic, I'll say that. It had this descriptive, somewhat flowery prose to it. I guess I had thought that it would be more of a thriller, whereas now that I've read it, I realise it's definitely more of a contemporary book. It did have the ability to really draw you in. And to be honest, it's actually a very saddening story about a girl that just wants to be something that she's not. It's very atmospheric and memoir-like. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And I just wish I didn't dislike all of the characters so much. And normally I like unlikable characters. If that in itself makes any sense, that's quite contradicting. But I'm not normally against having a book filled with unlikable characters. I guess, the story was interesting, but overall it wasn't really anything that memorable or special to me. And also listening to it on Audible, I don't know, I guess I just find anything about South Africa, like the South African narrator, her thick South African accent, and all of the silly South Africanisms about this book, I just found cringy and just, didn't do it for me, sorry. Okay, then we've got People Like Her by Ellery, Lloyd, and I just did a full reading vlog of that, which I'll link in the description box down below as well. Oh my god, this is the best book I have read this year by far. This book immediately caught my eye with such a harrowing, exciting and dark premise. So this is a book about this Insta mum called Aimee. She's like an influencer. She's basically sold her family online, and there's a lot of people out there that aren't really happy with her. She's quite high up, doing the sharing and posting all about the highs and the lows of motherhood. She does have a tendency though that her husband's very much aware of sugarcoating things to make people like her a little bit more. Her husband is this burnt out novelist, and I think he's quite resentful of her and her successes. She sprinkles little white lies like fairy dust around their lives to gain more followers and more people liking her. And if you put yourself out on the internet like we do, there is a very large possibility that someone might not really like you. And if she shares the wrong thing and potentially gives away crucial information about where they live now that she's got millions of followers, it could get bad, it could get serious, especially as they've got children in the mix. So the bones of the story, the very basic premise of it is watched by millions, hunted by one. The world of social media isn't the pretty place I think many people seem to think it is, and I know that firsthand. My video that I've got here, which has got like 16,000 views or something, of pretty much ripping apart It by Stephen King, I get hate mail from Stephen King fans and warriors and whatever they are, keyboard warriors, literally telling me to go and review a packet of painkillers and kill myself because they're so upset that I didn't enjoy this book. God's sake, do you have nothing better to do with your time? But anyway, so Aimee as a character, she receives this counterbalance as many people as she's got supporting her, following her, fascinated by her and loving her. She's also got people that really aren't very happy with her and think that she's disgusting, despicable, and selling her family, and that's not right. People Like Her has bite-sized chapters told from multiple points of views. We've got Aimee, we've got her husband, and then we've got the baddie. And the baddie's chapters are in italics, and told in the first person, very much like a You by Caroline Kepnes feel to it. And it's just so bloody good. The whole way through, I kept trying to figure out who the baddie was, and every single time I thought I'd nailed it, I was like, it threw another thing, like another spanner in the works, like it couldn't be that person. And I was like, what? I was stumped. But it was just so much fun. And I'll be honest with you, this book riddled me with anxiety. I think it's a very visceral fear of not knowing who is actually out there watching you on the at the other end of the screen, not knowing someone else's intentions. I think that's a very creepy thought. And with what I do with, social media, I do videos, I do Instagram. Yeah, you just never know, do you? And I'm not gonna lie, this book is dark. It is heartbreaking. At times, I felt physically sick by what I was reading. Even though it was very slow paced, in my opinion, I couldn't put it down. I was captivated. I just overwhelmed with needing to. I don't know how they did it. Ellery Lloyd is a pseudonym for a husband and wife writing team, and somehow they just literally suck you into this world, and they spit you out right at the end, and you're just left there on the floor like, what now? It was a very real and gritty insight into the world of social media and what influencers' lives are really like. I think a lot of us just feel like influencers they've kind of got it all. They get all this free shit. They just have to post a little picture on Instagram every day and get to go to all these fancy little things and get to go to Mallorca when the rest of us are in lockdown. It's not like that at all. The writing. Ellery Lloyd, husband and wife. My God, this is some of the best writing I've ever read. To me, the writing just screamed perfection. I'd also love to take a moment to talk about the brilliant title. It's so clever. I mean, it could be multiple meanings. People like her, people who like her. It could also mean people who are like her. I don't know if anyone else picked that up about this book, but I just kind of thought that having a multiple meaning title was very, very clever. So yeah, that's March wrap up part 1. I hope you've had a really good reading month so far. Let me know how it's going. Let me know what your favourite book of the month so far is in the comments down below, and I will talk to you very soon.